As a business owner, you make calculated risks every single day. But there's one decision that can quietly and completely dismantle everything you've ever built: who you choose to trust. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden costs of making those critical hiring and partnership decisions without doing your homework. So, how do you protect your business from this devastating, often invisible threat? Well, let's get into it.
This right here, this is the heart of the matter. It feels a little backward, doesn't it? I mean, we're always told to build our businesses on trust, on solid relationships. But when it comes to protecting your money, your ideas, and your future, just relying on trust alone, well, that can be your single greatest point of failure. All right, let's dive right in and frame the problem. We're calling this first section the trust vulnerability, because it really gets into how this common practice of just, going with your gut is actually a huge and often completely overlooked risk.
Now, we're not just talking about any old hire here. We're talking about what we call an inner circle decision. Think about it. This is when you bring in a new partner, a CFO, or basically anyone you're about to hand the keys to the kingdom to. These choices, they are absolutely some of the most consequential you will ever make as a business owner.
And this is exactly where that vulnerability pops up. See, most business owners, they pride themselves on their gut feeling, right? Their ability to read people. But here's the thing. Your instinct is not a security system. Relying on it just throws the door wide open to everything from slow, systematic theft to massive fraud, and the kind of reputational damage that can haunt you for years.
So, what really happens when that trust gets shattered? Let's dig into the very real and honestly often shocking consequences in our next section, the hidden costs of error. The thing is, the damage is never just one single event. It's a ripple effect. It might start with something obvious, like financial theft, but it spreads like wildfire. Suddenly, your intellectual property is at risk, your client relationships are damaged, and you might even be exposed legally. And worse, it can poison your entire company culture from the inside out. They all feed off each other, creating this cascade of damage that is just incredibly hard to stop.
And we're not just talking about someone grabbing cash from the register here. No way. We're talking about some really sophisticated stuff, like manipulating records to siphon off funds for months, setting up fake shell companies for bogus payments, or literally just walking out the door with your entire client list and your secret sauce straight to a competitor.
And then there's the stuff that's maybe harder to see at first, but is just as destructive. When you bring someone new into your inner circle, you can actually inherit their past problems. We're talking lawsuits, regulatory trouble, you name it. And internally, one bad actor can create a culture of total distrust, manipulating good employees, and leaving you with a toxic mess that can take years to clean up.
So, the big question is, how do you protect yourself from all this? Well, that brings us to Section 3, Beyond the Gut Check. This is all about being proactive, about making a smart, informed decision before it's way too late. Just look at this comparison. On one side, you've got the typical approach: gut feelings, a few interviews, and checking references that could be totally made up. It's basically using hope as a business strategy. But on the other side, you have a process that's based on data, verifying their credentials, searching legal records, analyzing their financial stability. It's the difference between guessing and actually knowing. Look, a professional verification process isn't about paranoia, it's about being smart. It just means doing your due diligence, confirming that their resume is actually real, searching for any history of lawsuits or criminal trouble, checking for financial red flags like bankruptcies, and even reviewing public records. At the end of the day, you have a right to know who you're trusting with your livelihood.
But what if it's too late for prevention? Or what if you've inherited a problem you didn't create? What do you do when you suspect that fraud is already happening inside your company?
Okay, listen up, because this is so important. Your first gut instinct might be to go and confront the person you suspect. And I'm telling you, that is the single worst thing you can possibly do. It almost never leads to a confession, it leads to a cover-up. Confronting them is like sounding a giant alarm bell that just screams, "Hey, start destroying all the evidence right now."
Instead, you need a professional investigation. It's methodical, it's careful, and most importantly, it's discreet. The first goal is to gather hard evidence, proof that can actually be used in court. Second, you have to trace the money to really understand how bad the damage is. And third, you got to figure out how it happened so you can plug those holes in your system for good. Every single step is about preparing for smart legal action, not some messy emotional confrontation.
This brings us to our final, and maybe the most urgent section of all. What is the real, tangible cost of just waiting, of hesitating when you feel deep down that something is wrong? Let's take a look.
12 to 18 months. Yeah, according to research, that is the average amount of time that fraud inside a business goes completely undetected. Just let that sink in for a second. For over a year, your company could be actively bleeding money and assets without you having a clue.
And what does all that time cost you? Well, the median financial loss in these cases is over $100,000. To put that in perspective for you, that's like an entire senior employee's salary that has just vanished. That is the price you pay for that 12 to 18-month delay. The longer you wait, the more you stand to lose. It's that simple.
So the bottom line is this. Waiting around, hoping it goes away, that's not a neutral strategy. It is an active decision. It's a choice to let the theft continue, to let the evidence get destroyed, and to let the problem get bigger, deeper, and a whole lot harder to solve.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. When your gut finally does tell you something is really wrong, a weird number in the books, an employee's strange behavior, a deal that just feels off, you're faced with a choice. And it all comes down to this one simple question. Who are you going to bet on? The person you suspect or the business you've built from the ground up?